And my first question is to Patrick. And that question is, have you ever attended, my first question is that this is Pride Festival this weekend. And so there's thousands of people coming to the Pride Festival and the Pride March. Devaki, have you ever marched in a parade or attended a street festival? Did you enjoy it?
Thank you for that question. The idea or very thought of parade still elicits excitement and hurrahs from me. I think I grew up, I don't know why, but I really liking the idea of parades. And I had a family tradition of watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on TV, because when my dad first moved to the United States, he was in New York and he would brave the freezing weather and he would go watch the parade with his friends and roommates. So I personally did get to attend a few parades growing up throughout school events, smaller ones. And then as I recently became more engaged and involved in the political community, I attended Las Vegas's Pride Parade in 2019. I was working as an organizer for Pete Buttigieg's campaign. We got to make a float and march with, we were hoping with Pete himself, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So he sent his partner Chasten, and Chasten's an absolute diva and everyone loves Chasten. So it was a wonderfully successful parade. We even got to create our own float at the time, which I believe I pitched the idea of having the rainbow fish be our theme. Unfortunately, the idea was great. However, the float turned out to not be so great, because it was too many people working on a fast timeline with different parts coming together. It looked a little eclectic, but we did, with Chasten, elicit some cheers from the audience. So all in all, I love parades. I even visited the Cherry Blossom or Festival Parade here downtown in DC a few months ago. And I look forward to hanging out at more parades and listening to lots more cheers and music for almost any festival or event. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Dev. And one of the great things about having you in DC from Nevada is we have parades almost every week. So there's always something going on here. So 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned, we had our 50th anniversary celebration, and Addison Bowe was our guest speaker. So Joel, did you think that a guest speaker is a good way for us to go? And if so, do you have an idea for a potential guest speaker in the future?
Actually, I think that at every meeting that we should have someone who is particularly expert at something or particularly interesting in some way. I thought that he was obviously an ideal speaker because of his background, and I don't know if anybody could listen to him without crying a little bit. And it was just perfect. And as far as who I would like to see as a speaker, I've seen the former Toastmaster world champion, a woman from Africa. I forget her name offhand. She just strikes me as an ideal person. She seems to be likable, interesting, and a real speaker. So I think that she, or even one of the other world champions, I know that years ago I was at a Toastmaster meeting and one of the former world champions was invited to attend. And he gave, I guess, his standard get up and say hello speech. And it was very good. And I think that I learned more from that speech alone than all the other speeches that I've attended before or since. So I am an enthusiastic person for wanting outsiders to give their information.
Wonderful, Joel. Well, I can report that our meeting on July 22nd, we are having Michael Franklin, who is the founder of Speechwriters of Color. So really looking forward to that. That is our next speaker. And we can look for some future Toastmasters speakers as well. I think you're talking about Verity Price, and she had very insightful stories. So one of the many quotes, they have these quotes in John Boehner's book. He's famous for his Boehnerisms, which is his book of wisdom. And one is, he would say, "I'm a happy warrior today." Joy, I'm going to elicit an answer from you. Are you a happy warrior today?
Carol, that is an excellent question to ask if I'm a happy warrior today. The answer is yes. I have learned after being mentored by others that I do have a warrior side to me. And one of the things that's important to be in a happy warrior is cultivating that aspect, balancing that, and learning that I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener at war. So learning those facets of happy warrior-ness, so to speak, and listening the responses of other appealing happy warriors, I hope that I can exude that aspect of happiness to others and let them know that being a happy warrior doesn't always mean you have to fight. Sometimes you got to lay down your arms and be at peace with yourself. So that's the way I would refer to being a happy warrior. And the answer is yes, I am.
Thank you very much, Joy. Appreciate that. Another Boehnerism is it's better to be heckled than ignored. Patrick, would you rather be heckled or ignored?
I think sometimes the introvert in me wants to be ignored and wants to sit in the back of the meeting and not have to be picked on or not have the spotlight on me. But the more I've done things like Toastmasters or done more speaking in my job or put ideas forward, I think at my core, I definitely would rather be heckled. I always think of sports athletes when afterward they're asked about how they're booed so hard by an away crowd, and they always say some form of, they boo you because they know you're good, or they hate you because they know you're so good. And so I think in that sense it's good to be heckled, because I think sometimes people like to bring others down a bit. But also too, I think if you're getting heckled, you're probably going to learn something, because maybe you need to change up your approach and need to reassess things. Heckling is going to happen in life. If you go through life as a people pleaser, as trying to just appease others, I don't think you're really going to be living your true values and what you really value, and you're not really going to be putting yourself out there and taking risks. And it's when you do that, when you risk being heckled, that you actually have personal growth, and that you actually can have successes and feel like you're really proud of achieving something. So I think as long as I'm getting heckled and it's not too bad, I think I'm okay with that.
That's wonderful, Patrick. Thank you so much. And it's great to have a little insight into what makes all of us tick. And I know, Patrick, whenever you share your sports stories, I always like that, and that insight that they only boo you because you're good. I think that's, I as someone who goes to a lot of Mystics games and does a fair amount of booing of opposing teams, you're right. Another Boehnerism is get the right people on the bus and then find them the right seat. Allison, can I elicit an answer from you of if you think you have the right people on your bus, and are they all in the right seat, including you?
Well, I think that's an interesting Boehnerism about the right people. I think the most important example that I have of this type of quote would be my current manager. He takes a lot of attention and time and persistence about hiring. I started with my current company in December, and on my team, there was my manager, there was me, and then 2 other people, and now he has grown by 3 people. And he said the reason it took so long for people to get hired was he wanted to make sure that he had the right people for the positions. So I think that's something you do have to take a lot of care of. And then sometimes I think people see good qualities in yourself versus that you don't see in yourself. And I would consider myself a person that has those good qualities that would go with that, even though I took a position. This position was 100% different from what I did before. And now, as my manager has me doing different activities, I see why he chose me and why I would be one of the right people that is included on his bus.
Wonderful. Thank you, Alice. And it sounds like you'll be driving that bus very, very soon. Lots of competence.